Oh, so we're live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Baddies Talk Back. Baddies Talk Back is our monthly virtual roundtable brought to you by For the Breast of Us, the first inclusive online community for women of color affected by breast cancer. I am Cynthia, and I'm a breast cancer baddie ambassador from Houston. And I would like to introduce you to our guests. Tonight, we have Baddie Ambassador Patricia Fox co hosting with me. And we're very excited to be joined by our Baddie Ambassador, Monisha, and her husband, Teron. So
Thank you.
thank you all for joining us tonight. How you doing?
Doing good.
How are you?
I'm good. Can't complain. How about you, Fox? You good tonight?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here. I'm happy I made it, and I'm really excited about this topic. I think that the topic for tonight for all of us is something we can relate to as co-survivors and caregivers. So if you're open to it, we can jump right into it.
Let's do it.
All right. So thank you all, first of all, Mo and Saran, for being our guest and being so open and vulnerable and willing to share. So Saran, we wanted to ask you, how did your life change when you became a caregiver, a co-survivor?
It changed really quick. When we got the news of, what transpired, I started to look at things a little different. Of course, being at a young age, I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect. I'm calling my friends, somebody I, trust, man, I don't know, just a lot of stuff going through my head. I never experienced it, especially, seeing her worried, but not worried, trying not to show it, kind of, threw me off a little bit because as a man, you're like, okay, I'm not going to show up. I'm gonna, get through this with you, but on the inside, I was like, I don't know how it was gonna happen, So that's it. It really changed at the blink of an eye.
That's definitely relatable. Cynthia, what do you think about that? I know people in my life, they share the same sentiments. What do you feel like the people in your life?
I think it's the same thing. Your co-survivors feel like they kind of have to be strong for you. And so they kind of tuck their own feelings to the side and just kind of step into that let's get it done mode. And so it's definitely relatable. So then Teron, as a caregiver, of course you want to be strong, you want to be, the support, but how did you learn to balance your own emotions and feelings surrounding the diagnosis and treatment? Looks like we might be having some connection issues.
These things are totally normal. So.
Right?
It's so wild because we just were good a few minutes ago.
Right. So let's go ahead and keep the convo going until they jump back in with us. Patricia, who was your caregiver during your journey?
I actually didn't have a lot of support.
Okay.
So I had a big sister, Yakima. You may know her from online, and I was linked with her through my nurse's assistant. And then my dad took me to and from chemo. And it wasn't until I was a supporter to someone that I realized how difficult that could be.
Right.
And then my brother, he lives in North Carolina, but he would send me money. He dyed his locks pink. He would put stickers on people's car, which I told him don't do because that's hard to get off. But, that was my support system. And he shared the same sentiments as Teron, saying it wasn't until after chemo and radiation that he finally cried. And he was like, yo, I feel like I could breathe and tell you how I was really feeling. So
right.
You're back.
Hey, guys. So, Teron, the question was, of course, you felt like you had to be strong and, of course, put on the brave front. Mm-hmm. At what point and when did you learn how to manage your own emotions while also being the support for Monisha? Or have you?
Right. I feel like that never really, it happened, but it didn't happen. Even, seeing her, 3 days good after chemo, and then the next day, 2 days later, it's like she's back kind of weak. And like I said, I bottled it up around her because I know I need to be strong for her and the kids, But like going to work driving, oh, it was, it was a whole nother story, to bottle all that up inside, calling, like I said, again, calling close friends, just to share my experience, just to get uplifting things from them, and to strengthen me without her even knowing, that was really, it was a lot. It was a lot of emotion, but I would say with her taking it how she did, that helped a lot too. She always used the what was it? Don't show up to
a fight dressed like a loser.
Yeah, don't show up to a fight dressed like a loser, and that kind of helped me, because I know we was both in it together.
I think you brought up a really good point about calling people, because they say the support system needs a support system.
Right.
And I think that that's something too that should really be considered important when you're supporting someone, having a support system to support you, because like you said, witnessing your wife go through these changes and feeling kind of helpless, like you can't really just remedy it, which is what we want to do for our loved ones. So what's some advice that you would give to caregivers?
I would say, well, at one point in time, like the people that I was calling, of course, they never been in my shoes. So it was some things they was like, man, I don't know. I don't know they can just give me advice. But then after a while, I just kind of went to the word, stood on that. And some advice I would give to caregivers, I would say, if you do have somebody that you can call, like call them, but pay close attention to the one that's going through, because they're going to tell you what they need. You know what I'm saying? And, I would just say, really, me personally, I don't like a lot of people in my business anyway. So I did, after a while, I started paying more close attention to Monisha, not just as my wife, or I'd start paying it close to like her needs and what she needed me to do, or because some things, Monisha, she's a very strong-minded person. So it was some things that she always wanted to do it, do things by herself. So it was some things that I had to pay a close attention to without her even telling me. And I was like, okay, I need to do this because I know she can't do it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so it's really, being a caregiver, I would really say pay close attention to the one that's really going through whatever they're going through. Even because sometimes they might not be able to tell you, what to do at times, or they just, but if you pay close attention to them and what they did, kind of beforehand, you'll really, kind of understand what's really happening.
I think that's a really important perspective, because even as the patient in the role, it's hard to ask for help all the time, even from those closest to you. And like you said, sometimes you don't even know what you want. Yeah. But that being observant and intuitive is really helpful, because it takes the onus off of us to be like, oh, I need this or that. And Monisha, how did becoming the opposite role this time around, you needing the care, just change your dynamic?
It was hard, because we were actually not married when I was diagnosed. We were like a little over a year into dating. So it was, we were still in the phase of like getting to know each other, So it was like, this was our big, almost like a test. We got thrown a serious curveball. So where, you're still in like the honeymoon phase, where you're still trying to be cute and you're still learning each other. It was, a whole level of vulnerability that had to happen in order for me to open up and be like, all right, it's about to get real quick. So we did have those conversations. And like you said, I tend to be very like independent, and I want to do stuff myself. So it took a lot for me to like let him be there and let him do stuff, because I had a hard time. Like, I just had these assumptions about, not necessarily that he wouldn't be there, but in my mind, like, okay, I don't want to be a burden. Like, we're just dating. Like, this is a lot. So I even had a conversation with him, like, listen, if you want to get out now, I'll be good. Like, it's about to be a lot going on, a lot of changes. And I knew I was going to have to like focus less on us and be selfish for a little bit. But, we kind of figured it out as stuff came along.
Wow, that's so beautiful. And I agree with you on that sentiment. I wasn't in a relationship or dating, but thank you for your transparency sharing that. Like, like you said, it's the honeymoon phase. I'm still trying to be cute. And now you have to be in this space where, you don't feel so cute and you have to be selfish and you have to have support. And that's really beautiful. So this will be for both of you. What is like a memory that you all have together as a survivor and as a caregiver? Like, what's one of the most memorable moments that was like, that was beautiful to share, but what's like a memorable moment for both of you?
I would say for me is like going with her to treatment and her dressing up like, like a diva every time she went, because I wore pink or whatever. Like, they knew who I was when I came in there too. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that was like, it showed her, like she said, not dressing up, just being strong when she's going into war. That was a battle, sitting in that chair. So she dressed up like, hey, I'm going I'm going to war every single time. They used to compliment on what she was wearing, and so I just thought that's what really kept me strong. Saying that was one of the best, memories of it, and her coming out of that. So
and I think for me, just when I lost my hair, because I was like, oh, this is not cute. And he was like very encouraging of like, why don't you just not wear a wig, like you're good. So I did go like a while without the wig, but it took me a long time to be comfortable in that, because that was like a shock to see myself with no hair. But he was so encouraging, and
yeah, I thought she was good with
so I thought that was really special to me, because that was like one of the things that I was like, this is not gonna work for me with the bald head. But he was very supportive.
That is super sweet. I think you guys have like a very unique perspective,
right.
In that I think it changes the dynamic of your relationship. But when you're just early on dating and you still, like you said, haven't figured out all of the ins and outs of your relationship, this can be a challenge, but it seems like you guys rock the hell out of it. I love it.
It does. And I just want to say real quick, it's in the room. Mm-hmm. So she just said, I wasn't feeling that cute. And here he goes, she was stepping. She was doing her thing. Like,
I would tell her that all the time. Like, she was like, oh, I'm like, babe, just rock it. Like, rock it. Because if you rock it, it's somebody going through the same thing you going through,
right,
and don't feel comfortable. But if they see you, rocking it, they're like, oh, you know what? And they might even come up and ask you, and then you might be able to strengthen them. You just never know.
Yeah.
So that was one of the reasons why I told her, because I was like, somebody need to hear your story. At this young age, you don't even know. You don't know who you walking past. They don't know.
Very true.
Yeah.
I just, that resonated. I mean, more power. I tried one time. And I was like, yep, nope. Because someone said Sin, let me know too how you feel about that. And I'm so sorry. I abbreviate names. Like, I don't know. It's more than one syllable. No, we're going. But I tried one time. Somebody said, make it seem like you're going on a date. Make it seem like it's a fun thing. Change your mind psychologically about it. I did it one day. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt and extra sweats and all of that. Cause you're super cold and you get super hot. So, I love beauty. So I could go on and on about it, but I'm just glad you was repping.
Right. I think it's important to do what you do. I am totally not a diva. And so, you might get a good, cute lippy out of me, and that's about it. And so that was my thing. Keep the bright pink lips on. But so how did you navigate these new insecurities, not just about not feeling so good and the bald head, but the body changing?
Yeah.
Like, that's real.
Yeah. It was very uncomfortable. Like, it took a lot for me, like, to be able to look in the mirror and be like, all right, this is it. So when it came to him and us being married, I was like, no, we're not gonna And he's always been really supportive. So even when we got married and we like took our pictures, like I was trying to cover up like my port scar, like I don't really want this in a picture, but I feel like that's a part of our story. Like I was 28 when I was diagnosed. We were dating, so it's all a part of our story, and he's always been very supportive and very loving. I just had to catch up because I had to learn how to love myself in a different way, because it's like no hair, and then your body changes, the steroids, you gain weight. So, I always say that this is like truly unconditional love, because when the conditions changed, the love was still the same. So I really appreciate him for that. He helped me to learn how to love myself in a different way, because it's definitely been a process, and it's still a process, like even now. So
and then again, I didn't she brought up a good point. Like I didn't want to force her to doing it, because I know I'm not in her shoes. You see what I'm saying? So I know it could have took time, but I just want to know that I'm supportive of whatever you feel comfortable with, but I'm comfortable with the uncomfortable. Does that make sense?
Right.
So, I just wanted her to know that, because I'm not in her shoes. I didn't lose my hair. I didn't do all, the physical changes and the emotional changes. I wasn't in her shoes of doing it, but I was just letting her know, like, I'm here, like, I'm fine with that, but I just know I didn't want to force that on her, but just to let her know that I was there. So
that is, man, I mean, I agree with you saying, like, this is a rare.
I feel like we need Jill Scott playing in the background or something.
It's like, or the music Soul Child, I love you. Your love will change. Like, y'all are really giving it. So, I feel like what is some advice that y'all would share? Let's say, let's just play devil's advocate a little bit, or just, giving a different perspective. What is some advice that you would share for people who are experiencing insecurities, and it affects their intimacy, or it affects even their communication, because that's intimate too. It affects how they show up, or the partner who doesn't know how to adjust. Because Teron, what you mentioned, you're just like, listen, I'm there with the heart, and if it's not, I'll support you with whatever way you want to go. Heart isn't hard for me when it comes to loving you, and I think that's so beautiful. And so, how would you encourage someone to do that for a survivor that's their partner? And for you, Mo, like, how would you encourage someone to overcome those insecurities and let those barriers down so that you can be loved and supported?
Well, I would say, even with the intimacy part, I really had to be very patient. I'd be openly honest. I got a high set drive, so I had to be patient. I had to, as we can be real, like, the social media, all that is just like out there now. Like I really had to block all that stuff out. You know what I'm saying? Because I can easily open up a page and see a IG model on there and just, but I really had to block that stuff out and tune into her, as far as, the intimacy, where I just had to let her build that back up, because it was a lot of things that the doctor said she couldn't do anymore. She couldn't have a child. She couldn't do this. So all that was just playing, just violin in the back of my head, But I would say I would encourage whoever it is that's having to do that role, just they have to tune everything out. Like you really have to tune everything out. And it goes back to the first phase of really knowing what's going on with the person that's dealing with it, because half of the time it was just blocked out. It's like, okay, what does she need? What does she want? And sometimes those feelings don't even, kind of cross my mind as far as intimacy, because I'm just there, giving her what she needs. And that can be intimate to her. I don't know, just in that time, like if she needed some ice in her glass, I already knew how much needed to be in there. She's like, okay, I ain't have to tell him that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's straight. So it's a lot, but I would say if your main focus is on what the person needs, it's like and some people just deal with it differently. So it all depends on the person that's going through whatever they're going through. So,
and I mean, I would say for the patient or the survivor, that I think one of the things that I had to learn is to just give the other person some grace and allow the person to be there for you, because like he said, I was used to just being able to do stuff on my own. And I'm not the type of person that if you ask me, like, what do you need? I'm going to say I'm good. Like every time. So I had to really open up and allow him to be there, because I had like the wall, like I can do it. I'm going to be superwoman. And so I think it's really important to allow people to be there for you and just to give them some grace, because they're going through it just like you are in a different way. But, and my mom was diagnosed with cancer. So I think that kind of affected the way that I went through it, where I was able to be more patient with someone being my caregiver, because I had been a caregiver. So I'll say definitely give people some grace, because I was like angry, when you're going through and you like, I just expected this person to be there. Right. And, this person didn't show up in the way that I thought. But you have to think about that the other person is scared and they have all these emotions going on too. So, like he said, everybody goes through it in a different way. So support looks different for everybody. So if somebody sends you a card, they might feel like, I'm being supportive, but you wanted them to physically be there. So I think just accept the support, allow people to be there, and, give them some grace, because it's hard for everybody.
I feel like you both have some incredible self-awareness. And I think it is a lot. And remembering to come back to each other, to focus in on Monisha when you could be elsewhere. You could be lost in your thoughts. You could be lost in your desires, all those other things. And likewise for Monisha to remember to give somebody grace. Like they're doing their best. Yeah, they might not do it exactly like you would or in the exact time frame, but they are doing their best. And like you said, they're going through it in their own way, right along with you. How did this journey affect the rest of your family? What about the rest of your co-survivor circle?
It affected I think it really hit hard, because like I mentioned before, we had already gone through it. Like my grandmother passed of breast cancer. And then my mom has had breast cancer twice. So I think it was kind of like, all right, here we go again. And I kind of felt bad for him in a way, because I feel like I have like a really close-knit family. So when I was diagnosed, it was like, okay, what do you need here? We're going to huddle around you. And I didn't want him to feel kind of pushed out. I wanted to give him an opportunity to be there in his own way too. So, it was with us being boyfriend and girlfriend at the time, I know that like my mom and my dad, they were going to be like right here, but I didn't want to kind of push him out. Like I wanted to allow him space to be there too. And then I had two young boys at the time too. So I feel like we all we were in it together. And it definitely kind of changed the dynamics where, I feel like even my dad had to be like, okay, so he's the man in her life. So I'm going to let him kind of step in.
I think I forced myself in the
circle. Because even my friends would come, to some of my chemo treatments, and he was there. So people who I've known for years, like he was there the whole time. So, I felt bad. Like, all right, I have like a really like a serious support system. So he, like he said, he wasn't going anywhere. So I appreciate that, because I feel like even my mom might have had the conversation with him, like, all right, she's about to go through some stuff. So if you're not ready to, strap your boots up, this might be the time where you can go. But he was, he stayed. Yeah. And for us too, when we got married, because, as a result of chemo, they told me that, I wouldn't be able to have any more kids. And with me already having 2 children, he not having any biological children, that was a whole nother layer that complicated things, because I felt, bad in a way, like, all right, I know that, you love the boys as if they're your own, like they're your boys too. But he didn't have any biological children, so that definitely kind of was a tough conversation to have. And again, he was like, you're here, so we'll just deal as it comes. And thankfully we were blessed with a little girl who'll be 4 next month. But it was hard because we were navigating like all the uncertainties around the diagnosis. So
we definitely need a Black Love soundtrack for this episode.
This is the most amazing, inspiring, and just experience I've heard about co-survivorship, and a relationship, maintaining that. And I agree with you, saying you all are very aware of yourselves, very mature, and I'm sure that there still were challenges, but even how you address them, and knowing that you're not confronting each other, you're confronting a situation, is what I'm hearing you all say. And you're right. We need we're gonna make you a Black Love soundtrack. We're gonna make y'all one. We're gonna put it on YouTube. And then we're gonna challenge the baddies to go ahead and post a diva look if they did one. Go into their treatment, because I know a couple people who did, and it's just, yeah, y'all are truly amazing. Like this is amazing. And for you, Teron, like how did your family respond, to knowing that this woman that you're now newly dating is experiencing this? Did some people tell you, yo, man, like, I don't know, you should run to the hills, bro? Like, or were they supportive and saying, if you love this woman, we riding with you? Yeah,
because I mean, even my friends, they know me. Like, they know I wouldn't even just leave her side just because,
right.
Like, I'm gonna go through it. If, say for instance, if we weren't gonna be together after the fact, they knew I wasn't gonna leave her side, like going through it. Like they just, my family knows that too. They was like, so what we need to do, what we need to do to help, or what needs to happen. So I mean, they know me, so they won't nobody like on the outside like, man, bro, I don't know what I do, or I don't know. Nah, it won't nobody like that. In my family, they was more supportive of like anything. Hey, do we need to get the boys? Do the boys need to come over here? So y'all can be alone, so they don't see, Monique, her mom, her as their mother going through that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do we need to do, to help out, to take some pressure off of, their side of the family, or bring some food, or
right.
What is, they was more supportive of anything, because they just know the kind of person I am, so
yeah, I see it when you say it, like, oh, I wasn't going anywhere, like, oh, you're serious.
Even if it wasn't going, I was going to stick it out, regardless, because I was there when it happened. It's like, she telling, okay, I'm diagnosed, or I'm going through this. You can, when she gave me that option, I'm like, I looked at her like, it's not even an option, like, you know what I mean?
Right, like, you low-key offended you even asked me.
Right, yeah. Even though I guess she asked me too, because I was doing so much at the time. I had a lot going on, but right. I mean, that's life. You know what I'm saying? Like, that stuff was still happening with me there, without me there. So, especially going through something like at that point in somebody's life, can be critical, life and death. Like, I'm not like, right. That was just a big part of for me to just, stick it out. She married me, so okay.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about kind of the dynamics of your relationship, and clearly, I mean, we can see obviously how your relationship has changed, and it's changed for the better. Do you think that going through this journey together brought you guys closer?
Yeah.
It did. Like, after the fact that we was going through a lot of stuff, and then kind of when she got better and things like that, we still went through some trying times. It was some times where I felt like, okay, she's better now, let me go and do me. You know what I'm saying? Like, just let me try to. I tried to think about catching up time that I lost. You know what I'm saying? But that was the wrong way of doing stuff. at that point, I mean, because I still young and thinking I'm still missing out on traveling and stuff that I used to do, you know, but and again, I had to grow up in a way too, so it was just some things that I missed doing that I didn't do, over that period of time, and it kind of lost track of like our communication, us, that same intimacy, a lot of stuff, and we really had to, get back on track, from doing a lot of things, because once she was gone, I'm like, okay, again, I'm young thinking like, oh, she good now, she got the surgery, we had a child, but it was my wrong way of thinking, at the same time too. So and that point brought us closer together, but even with going, with her going through what she went through, that of course that will always bring us together because we went through that together. That's something that we always can, I don't want to say dwell on, but something that's a big part of both of our lives. But we did have some trying times that brought us closer together, even within, fighting that together. So
because I think too, because of when I was diagnosed, it was still early in our relationship, that it's kind of like all those like discussing expectations and conversation that you have early on in a relationship. We kind of put a pause on that, so and focused on the cancer. Once we were on the other side, it was like, well, we never really discussed this expectation or how you feel about this. So I think we had to like get to know each other again in a different way, because we were two completely different people than when we before the cancer diagnosis. So I feel like coming out on the other side, that that was like our big test. So anything else that we've kind of had to face, we kind of dealt with it and got through it. I think it helped us to not so much like just sweep stuff under the rug and push through, but to really take time and process and have conversations. So I think it helped us in that way too.
Marissa says Teron is about to become the spokesman for the husband and partners of Baddies. He just don't know it yet. I second that.
Seriously.
Were there any like tools or resources, books or apps or anything that you used to help kind of guide you through maybe this process, to maybe help you in your role as a caregiver, co-survivor?
Oh, the Bible. I mean, it wasn't. I'm not like a big reader, but like I said, it was the scripture, and then just really catering to her, and prayer. Like that's the only thing that really like kept me, and then after a while you talk to some of your friends, they could. When I first talked to some of them, it was some people like, okay, I am never calling them again. Like, no, I didn't know who to call anyway. But then it was like 10 people. Then it went down to like 2, and then it was like the people that really, fed me scripture every day, or prayed over me every day, or prayed over Monisha every day without even her knowing. That's what kind of gave me the uplifting things. And I mean, it's really. Like I said, I'm really a math guy, so the reading, the Bible, basically, and I was reading. She actually had a book afterwards called "What's Going On with Mommy." It's a children's book, so that kind of after the fact, like just reading it was like powerful in itself, but it's a children's book. You know what I mean? But in the midst of it all, I didn't really, read too much. I was just really solely focused on, her, to be honest.
I love that you mentioned like implementing faith in this battle for both of you, and how, because that's something that we see online all the time, and we hope for. So again, we gonna get you out of that soundtrack. But having a partner that prays over you, prays for you, and then having people in your supportive circle that pray for you and lift you up in prayer, and praying for your healing. And so my question is for both of you, how has this journey impacted your faith, and your journey, your relationship with God? Has it strengthened it? Were there times where it was weaker and then was strengthened? What did that look like for each of you?
I mean, it definitely strengthened it. I think I always say that this was like the time for me, like, I talk a lot about faith and I, believe in God, I have a relationship, but I feel like this was the time where like that talk had to match the walk, because that's really all we had to stand on. So, we really relied on that a lot. And I think it helped us a lot in our individual journeys as well as together, the importance of, our children, us praying with them and, praying together, and then our, individually. So I think it definitely strengthened our faith. And I think it helped us in building our relationship and just as our foundation going into our marriage.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I question God a lot. Like, why me? Or why her? Or why us? You know what I'm saying?
Why us?
So I question. I'm not gonna I question him a whole lot. Like, it was sometimes I ain't even like. Of course, I believe that she would made it through, but I'm like, I didn't think I would, make it through the whole thing. Just because I was like, just questioning him a lot. He's like, hey, like, she's gonna be all right, but this is for you to be stronger. Because you never know. Again, how Melissa said, you never know who is going through that you can help along the way or down the line. It's just a part of your story, especially with what I do, so you just never know. But I did question a lot, but at the end, it definitely strengthened, my walk and, just listening to him, because sometimes I'm like, oh, dang, him talking. I try to block it out, but it really was, what I'm saying? So yeah, but it strengthened it doing but sometimes in the middle part, like, I always question him, and like, it was that conversation with him where we just talking back and forth. He like, just listen, like, what I mean? Just calm down and listen and pay attention. He always say, listen and pay attention, so that was me and God's conversation.
I appreciate your authenticity. I mean, both of you are definitely authentic, and I experienced that, too, with just having questions, and again, y'all lifting each other up in prayer is just so beautiful to me. So I really appreciate you just being raw about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. So tell me, what was it like? Like you said, I know you said that you had to kind of relearn each other. Let's go ahead and dive all into this Black love. What was the engagement and wedding like? Share with us all the details.
Well, the engagement, I think it was the
day after my birthday.
The day after her birthday. We just all had like a private dinner at TGIF Fridays. She didn't know nothing. I think we was going to Cancun or something, like, for her birthday. And then everybody went around the table, just, because it was, when were you finished with everything?
It was like right after.
Yeah, right after she was finished, chemo and stuff like that. Everybody went around the table, say what they had to say, and then of course it was my turn. She didn't know what was going to happen. So got on my knees in the restaurant, asked her to marry me, and we was going on. She probably thought I was going to do it in Cancun or something, but I did it, with everybody around. That was the engagement, and the wedding we had on a nice private beach.
We got married at in Ocean Isle, because we're in North Carolina, so we like went back and forth. We wasted so much money before, because we were going to do it at a castle. Then we were going to do like this big thing, and we just wanted to do something that was like us. And so we just wanted to keep it like small and intimate. So we ended up doing our wedding on the beach. I think I found my dress at Nordstrom Rack for like $48 and got it tailored, and we did on the beach with our boys there. So It was nice. It was us. So, we had like our close inner circle around us and, people that have supported us from the beginning. So it was nice. And we're 5 years in. So
Yeah.
So
Ooh, and
Oh
we
my
can't wait to celebrate a million more with you
okay.
But we've been knowing each other.
we went
since-
to middle school together. So we
And
sat
the
beside each other and
story
met
deepens.
Right?
and I didn't like him at all.
She didn't. She didn't like me at all.
And really quick, so just to backpedal a little bit, because you mentioned the boys, so you had this intimate wedding, you had the boys. What was the support system like for the boys? So I know that you published this amazing book, and then, but in real life, like, what did it look like? For both you being supported to them as the one enduring this, and for you being the the co-survivor supporting Mo through this, and then supporting the boys. And what did that look like for each of you? And were there any challenges, or was it
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning, the boys didn't really, of course they're young, they didn't understand, what was going on. When Monisha had conversations with them, just saying she'll be all right, and then of course when she come home, they like, "Why mommy's so tired?" and just like that, and I kind of do things that they are like, well, she's just resting, and I go play video games with the oldest one, and then the youngest one, of course, he running, he on 100. So I'm just like trying to find something to do with him, but that got me closer to them because I really didn't know what they remember. We just was dating at the time. So it's like, she ain't never let me stay the night. She won't have that. And, so I never, it was like, we had dinner, I leave and, but again, I had to start staying the night, just to put them in the bed and do other things. So I started really getting to know them more. What they like. Okay, the little one, he likes to read a book every time he go to bed. He like this. The oldest one, okay, he like basketball or he like this. Let me take, so it was a lot going on, but it drew me closer to them to really see what they like. Because again, I didn't know at that short amount of time that we was getting to know each other. I was going to be in her life or not be in her life. But I knew in that same time that I would have to be the support system for them as well, so.
Yeah, it was hard to like let go of that because I was like, super mom. So I wanted to do the homework and go to all the conferences and go to the games. And, like you said, we were dating at the time. I was like very over protective of my boys. Like, I don't know if you're going to be around long term. So, but I think that's really what sealed the deal for me because he did start to get so close to my boys and they really began to like cling to him and really build up, their relationship without me like hovering over, like, what y'all doing? So I just kind of trusted him, with them and they, it really grew their bond stronger. So, I really do appreciate, his help and for him stepping up in that way, we have, friends and family who, helped out as well. So like, it definitely takes a village because, some days I just didn't want to get out of bed and he really stepped up.
That is beautiful. I just it literally feels like seeing y'all together too. It literally feels like the Black Love episodes, and maybe they will feature y'all, because it's such a from and Sin, maybe you could weigh in on this too. Whether it's intimate relationships or whether it's family, a lot of times that dynamic looks a little rough, at least from my experience and from experiences I've heard from other people. So this is just such a breath of fresh air. It's just so sweet. It's so authentic. It's so beautiful. What do you think?
I agree. So I was in a relationship through my diagnosis and we broke up after, but he's still one of the most amazing people I've ever met and one of my best friends. And I think it's an important perspective to share, rightfully so. We are out in the forefront. We went through the battle, but we don't do it alone. And I think it's important. The more we talk about it, the more our partners and our friends and our family know how to show up for us. And honored to sit here with y'all and hear your perspective, and and to be able to share it with our community, because it's going to help so many other people.
Right.
Yeah. Hopefully it makes people know that it's okay to accept help, especially as women of color. Like we are strong women, and we like to do it all, but we, like I say all the time, like you rob yourself of the opportunity of letting people be there for you. And I think that's one of the things that changed for me when I was diagnosed. Like how I view the whole idea of being strong is like not about how much I can carry, but how much I can let somebody else help me kind of carry the load. So hopefully this is helpful to let people know, like, let people be there for you. It is okay.
Right. So yeah, Marissa asked, what advice do y'all have for people who don't have caregivers? And I think you've just touched on that. We may not have like a live-in, round-the-clock consistent, but allow people to help you.
Yeah.
You don't have to carry it alone. And I think any other advice you would give to somebody who may not have the same sort of support or consistent caregiving?
I think sometimes, like, I don't know, like, because I've never been through it, but sometimes I think people are afraid to share it, like with some people. You know what I mean? So it's just, I guess, knowing you got to really put in perspective who you probably can share it with, and not really asking for help, but just say, hey, I'm going through something, I may need you.
Right.
Or, because if you don't say anything, nobody will know. And then like, girl, why didn't you tell me that you were going to do that? Like, I didn't know that. I would have did this. Oh, I didn't want to say anything to no. You know what I'm saying? So it's really up to the person that's going through it to really say something to someone if they don't have nobody around. You know what I mean? They can, you never know what support system. Somebody, they say something to one person, and that person might be in a church or in something in another setting, and now you have a whole family. You got 100 caregivers. You just never know. You know what I'm saying? They like, let's wrap our heads around this one person. But if you don't say anything, you will never have a caregiver.
It's so true. I'll never forget, before I even imagined breast cancer would come into my life, I volunteered with the breast cancer organization in California where I lived. And randomly one day a coworker told me she was having a mastectomy. Mm-hmm. And I connected her kind of with the org, and suddenly she didn't have family. Yeah. But she ended up with this whole network of support. And you're right. Of course, you have to feel out and figure out who you trust.
Right.
And who you feel like you can share your story with, but you just never know what will come of it.
Yeah, you don't want to share it with that auntie that put it on Facebook. Oh, she got breast cancer. Like, what? Why did you post that? Oh, we need to come together. We need to, just gotta, you gotta know who to talk to.
Yeah, I think that is very important. Just feeling comfortable enough to let somebody know what you're going through is like the first step. And a lot of times when people hear caregiver, they think that it has to be an immediate family member, but a caregiver can be your neighbor. You just gotta find your people, that circle of people that you can trust. So I think that's where it starts, feeling comfortable enough to share, like, this is what I'm going through.
And I think also understanding that caregiving means a whole lot of things.
Right.
That doesn't mean come and, maybe wash my dishes. Sometimes it means come lay on this couch and Netflix and chill with me because I don't have the energy to do anything else.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think conversations like this open that up for everybody to understand caregiving can look like so many different things.
Right. Yeah.
Agreed. And I love that you brought up, Teron, about, speaking up. So I didn't have a lot of support. So like you were sharing about your coworker, part of it is because, especially in our community, I call it ABC, African, Black, and Caribbean communities, everything is closed mouth. Okay, don't tell anybody, because like you said, Auntie gonna put up, oh Lord, my niece, I got cancer, right? And it's just blasting your business and not necessarily having a lot of care. And so my dad actually was like, don't tell anybody. I'm gonna find out the family history. Don't tell anyone. And at first, it felt malicious, but also think I'm 26 and I feel like, why can't I tell anybody? But understanding that perspective, and that really, it was about protecting me, Right. So I think, though, it does hurt people when they wind up finding out, because they do say, like, well, why didn't you tell me? And, having a heart to heart with, one of my closest and my favorite people, my cousin, she was like, I wish you would have told me because I would have supported you. And her and her mom have supported me in many ways. So I think, sometimes we do have to, like you both said, have discretion on who we share it with, and discussing it with the other people who may be supportive in our lives, because it does take, it takes a village, like I said, and you do want to be supportive. And sometimes you don't want to cut that off or write it off as people don't care because you didn't give them an opportunity to show up. Yeah. And, that's very, very important. Take the cape off, be vulnerable, use discretion, but be vulnerable with who you're going to share that information with, and allow yourself to be loved on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I kind of think it's like, kind of building a whole nother relationship. Even you might have a relationship with somebody, but building that kind of relationship with them is kind of like starting the relationship over again. Like I would think, because just like was it Trish said? She said sometimes it can, right here. Sometimes it can be difficult, like very difficult by talking about it, because you really have to communicate if they're going to be a caregiver what you really need.
Right.
It's kind of building that whole trust, a trust thing again. I know it definitely can be difficult just reaching out to somebody, even though you think they can do it, and they like, that's not for me. But then you like, dang, well, you the person I wanted to, you know what I'm saying? Like it can be difficult because they might can't deal with it, seeing you go through that process, because it can be very difficult. I would say too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like almost going through this with someone, no matter who it is almost like the ultimate in team building exercises,
It's a serious trust that, like, I might trust you to do certain stuff, but for me to trust you enough, like when I can't get out of bed to like handle what needs to be handled, like you're gonna do what needs to be done for the kids, like you're gonna cook, like that's a whole nother level of trust for sure.
And like you said, I think it's a level of communication. Like it's like you're leveling up. Like you have to learn to take nonverbal cues, verbal cues, look inside yourself and take a step back. All of these different skills that you have to learn as you're caregiving. So I can definitely imagine that it's not an easy journey, but I can also see how it took y'all to the next level and really prepared you for this lifetime journey you're on.
Yeah, and I know it's probably kind of going back on what Trish said, like difficult to talk about. I know it was, even me being Monisha's caregiver, I know it was some situations where it was, I don't know how long she even thought about even telling me certain things. Like even when she went to the doctor and they said, well, look, your time is running out. If you gonna have a child or you ain't, because we gonna take your ovaries if you ain't thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know how long she held that in just to talk. Even though I was her caregiver, for so long, like any time that you're talking with somebody that's dealing with like a change in your situation, I think can be difficult because, of course we bottle it in. Like even me going to get a physical, I'm like, man, I ain't got a physical in like 8 years. Like, she like, go get a physical. You know what I mean? And she, but it be simple. She like, when the last time you went there? I'm like, I ain't get a physical forever. You know what I'm saying? She's like, go get a physical. You know what I mean? So, but I didn't tell her. It took me forever to tell her. I ain't been to the doctor in a minute. But any changes, or I would think, can be difficult if you're trying to build, just in your life. Because again, sometimes we don't want to know what's going on. I had an auntie that dealt with breast cancer. She didn't tell nobody, like nobody in the family. She had stage 4 and still didn't go to the doctor. Of course, she passed away, but she didn't tell nobody didn't even know.
Yeah.
So, and she knows how caring our family is. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you just don't know what that person is dealing with. So
definitely don't.
It's definitely hard. I don't know what she would have thought, but she know how family cares for her. I don't know if she thought it would have been too much, or she didn't tell anybody. When she went to the doctor and the doctor said it was too late, she was already You know,
but I think as a patient, kind of the ball is in your court. Kind of, it kind of leans heavily on what you want to tell people, and I think you give yourself, you have to give yourself time to deal before you can openly share and communicate with others what it is that you need. Because there was a time I didn't know what kind of support I needed. Like, I just needed to sit with it for a minute. So I think as, survivors or, somebody going through it, that we have to give ourselves grace too, because sometimes we don't know what to ask for because we don't know what we need. We're trying to process it. And so, the ball is really in our court because people can't really be there in the way that, they want to be, or we might need them to be if we don't really know how to say what's going on or what we're feeling. So it's kind of a level of vulnerability and transparency that we have to kind of have as well.
And I'm going to go ahead and shameless plug, and I'm grateful for the rest of us in this community that we're changing that narrative. Again, culturally, generationally, there are a lot of factors that weigh into how we tell, if we tell, when we tell. And and so it's important that we begin to have these conversations and create these safe spaces where we can discuss and really get the support that we need and feel comfortable enough to then go to our families.
Yeah, I agree.
Trish, I got my physical. I did do
that. Yeah, you better have.
Everything was perfectly fine.
Well, Patricia, any more questions?
No, I mean, I'm just honestly, I feel really inspired. Like I said, I wasn't in a relationship or doing anything at that time. My doctor was like, I had, just broken up with someone for like years, and my doctor was like, no, you need to be dating. Just, go out there and have fun. So that's what I did. That's another show. But no, I don't have any more questions. I'm just so thankful for all that y'all have shared. Seriously, I mean, the true transparency, the rawness, the authenticity, the vulnerability it takes. And Sin, like you said, create for the rest of us being the only and the first, platform where it's for women of color who are affected by this, where we can share, be vulnerable, be resourceful, and have inspiring and hopeful stories like this. It means so much. Seriously.
I always say I'm not a hopeless romantic. I'm a hopeful romantic, and y'all make me hopeful.
For real. For real.
So guys, you know where to find us. We're For the Breast of Us, breastofus.com, For the Breast of Us on Facebook and Instagram. Monisha has an amazing blog, The Burden of Being Strong, up on the website. And you can follow her. She's Monisha Shante 0503. Check out all of our Baddie ambassadors. And thank you again for joining us. And we hope to see you again next time.
Yeah.
Any closing words, Monisha and Teron?
No, just thank y'all for, we enjoyed sitting down and having a conversation with everyone. We hope that, it encouraged someone.
It did, definitely.
So I'm going to take Patricia up on something. I am an R&B singer, so I'm gonna try to write some stuff.
Ooh, well, look, tag us all because we want to hear.
Yes, we do.
Like, I think I can it sparked something like an inspirational, breast cancer kind of R&B feel, kind of something, like, because people
hold him to it.
People need to hear.
I said, you didn't tell us he was singing love songs to you too.
Right, he was serenading you. He was like, "You in treatment, but you're my treatment."
So Teron, looking out for that.
Yeah. I think that'll be something.
We're gonna hold you to that song and then do a physical, sir.
Yeah, you,
Okay.
you are an ambassador now.
Right.
You are an ambassador.
Right.
Well, again, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Baddies Talk Back. And again, breastofus.com and For the Breast of Us on IG and Facebook. And we will see you again next time. Thanks so much.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks so much.
Bye.